Good morning, friends. Welcome to my channel, Joy to the World. I am Melissa Joy. So you can see I'm in a different environment. Still some luscious water behind me. So much calmer and quieter. It's an interesting experience. This week will be 11 years I've lived there. Okay, little fishy. There's some bass jumping this morning. They out there like, time to get some breakfast. Yeah, 11 years. I love living around the water. And the interesting thing is, I actually moved there on my mother's birthday. That's when the lease began. So coming here to celebrate her birthday was an interesting surprise and turn of events through the Spirit. I haven't been back this direction in years, and definitely not here because they weren't here. They moved out here, not the specific location. We're at somebody's lake house, which is nice. I still get to be by water. There's a little baby duck all by itself. But it was interesting to come here. I knew they weren't coming that direction for whatever reason. But to be able to be with my mom, she and you all have really helped me through these last few months that have been tumultuous and challenging and rigorous and straining. But the joys of love, those who love you and care about you and who show up to support you, has made a way of unspeakable ways. Like, there aren't really words to describe it, so I just continue to move forward, and hopefully we all get to witness it, and I'll tell you what's going on, whatever is, right? I'm just like, there's contributions and gifts going from, not a duck, alligator. He just has his head peeping out. Somehow became gas money because getting here and seeing her for her birthday provided food for the entire time. Everybody's here celebrating, and that was an interesting turn of events. Not something I came up with. It was definitely provoked because my body and my car thinking to travel in 6 hours, that didn't even cross my mind. And it's like, it's faith. I'm sending you on this adventure. And it's like, aren't you listening to the channel? And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, okay, let's step out on this thing. So the card coming in today, look at this. I love myself. Loving yourself might look a little different than you expected, especially in this transition time where things are coming from a lockdown. And I don't just mean the world's lockdown. I mean our personal lockdown. And sometimes when the environment around us does something, the way we adapt and react inside can take on a whole different hue. So moving out of that might look a little different than you expected, just like what's going on here. And it was scary. And I didn't stay scared through it. I was scared ahead of time, and I told Spirit, hey, Spirit, I'm scared. I'm scared about what's going to happen to my body if I go, because my back and everything else. And I was like, how am I going to make it? Is this going to put me in a bigger hole? Or is it, are you really going to bless me this time? And I'm just speaking it the way my mind is going on. And that's the way it was. And it said, no, go. We'll move you in peace. We'll take the time with it, and we'll get you there. Everything's going to be okay. We have a new life for you. And I'm like, all right. Now, that's as mysterious and proverbial to me as whatever else as it is to you. And so maybe that's some of what's coming in your life. And that mysterious nature could have a bit of the Scooby-Doo effect, the ooh-wee-oo. Where's Mr. What's his name? The old guy who often seems to be the bad guy behind the mask, Pardon me, my hair is very much tickling my arm. And it can make us a little nervous. But I didn't let the scare get in the way. Again, divining with self and having that conversation, just like asking questions, I can divulge information and share and say, hey, Spirit, I'm scared. And here is what I'm scared of. And it's like, okay, let's breathe through this. Let's take each step at a time. Let's give space for all this, like packing of the car, the lifting and moving things. Everything had to be done in these tiny increments and steps. But it was doable. it was doable when I didn't let the scare and the fear, get all backlashed and tangled up on me and make me do things the way I think I used to always do them or the way the world does them. Instead, just being able to stay in that solid, quiet, intimate space with myself. And as I did, each little strand of scare began to, dissolve and fizzle out, and I made it here. And I made it through the night. It was a challenge. But I was like, I'm going to rise and see the sun. Now, I can't see the colors and all that here because the trees are in the way, but I got to see the bright light and gaze at it for a few minutes before it was too high. But in the midst of it, I got to see the telltale signs of its light gracing everything around me. So just like us, there are telltale signs around us, showing us this wave of love coming in, this ability to embrace what might scare us or even intimidate us, but not getting locked up into fear. Fear is when we get stuck or stagnated in it, just like, a big one's coming for you, my friend, not a gator, a fish. Johnny Big Fish got a big old check in his mouth, okay? I don't know who that's for, but receive it, all right? I don't know where I was going with that. Interesting how that goes. But the light coming in and beginning to grace those things around you and getting locked in fear is like scare that isn't expressed and walked through at the time that it's occurring. Like putting out to the side, scraping it off, or mustering up a not whole courage or an untrue courage, a false courage. All these other things that put off in these distortions, right? And that's where we get snagged and tethered into stuff that causes it to be janky when we begin to move in it, that could cause those unsavory, I'll say results, right? But that's not exactly what I mean, but you can hear through what I'm saying. But just like our emotions or feelings that we had, senses that we had at the time that when we tried to address them with ourselves or with the other person that maybe the issue or the conflict or whatever else was going on with, and it wasn't received. Or we tried to work through old past issues and we couldn't let it go. Those are emotions. Emotions are feelings that have gone unprocessed and they get distorted. They're kind of like cocktails. A Molotov, this thing going on that's like gonna blow up somewhere. I call it the landmines that build up around us. But here it says, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde. And with that, I hear the ring of be true to yourself and break through to yourself. It's not like busting down walls like Mission Impossible. Do. No, it was simply taking that moment to say to myself with that thing bunching up in my stomach and being like, I'm scared because I could clearly hear spirit. And I'm like, what if this doesn't work? What if I'm crazy? How ridiculous. That's supposed to be to by feet. It's like, Joy, get there and talk to my mom. And she was a little scared too, but she was like, I don't know, with your body and your health and the car and everything. And she said later on, it settled into her spirit of, my daughter's coming to see me for my birthday. Because when she grew up, they weren't necessarily celebrated. And she said it began to excite her and stir in her a happiness to know that I was coming. And so it's a gentle experience. It's not a big wow factor or, some big shebangles going off or whatever. But we'll find out more as we come. And sometimes it can be these little things that seem far out of our comfort zone that are new ways to love ourselves when we address the scare. We get the light flicked on the Scooby-Doo eyes and we realize, it's just old man Withers. That's it. It's like, it's just you, old man Withers. Why are you out there creeping up in there trying to scare me? When the light of day cuts on, things aren't so harrowing. And making a way through this difficult desert, whatever else has been going on, stuff that I'm vomitrociously tired of, I would say, thinking, hearing about it, speaking about it, whatever. I speak very little about it, but I'm ready to move on to brighter days, to follow the sun. And this week's collective message, I would say go check it out, because it's really about the way we follow the sun is not to chase it across the sky. It's to go rest and arise and greet it. Okay? A little bit of sign language going on in there. We got some sign language speaking along here. But for those of you who are visual versus verbal, and either way, I'd love to have your comments. Chat with me down below, whether visual or verbal, whether you do emojis or words, I don't know. But either way, I get you, my friend, because I speak both. And so that language of the soul and the self does as well. And it gets your feelings. So just bringing up the topic, it begins to work through everything for you and with you, okay? Not against you, not coercion, not all those other, like, you know, again, another sign language, dominating type energy that the old Saturnian ways had. Now, this is blah-bitty-blah planet stuff, but we had a major planet move through Capricorn for the last 16 years. And so it was in the area of finance. It was in the area of world commerce. It was in the area of lockdowns. It was in those type of things. And so even though I don't get too wrapped up in that, they are a communication device to let us know. And there's just a little bit of it still happening as that planet, Pluto, moved back in there, and then it'll ease back into Aquarius. Aquarius just has to do with openness, right? And so this being open to the flow, like the wind blowing across me, the wind in the water, that's really what those waves are about in Aquarius. When those energies come together, that's where the power of creation lives. If our vocal cords weren't wet, no speech would come out. It helps them vibrate. It helps it move across like rosin does on the bow of a violin. Moving across those strings, allowing the glide, allowing to dissipate friction and get us into flow. So I'll leave you with that last little tidbit. As I was coming out of those difficulties of having been with an abuser for quite a while and having to adapt to survive, to get through it, to make it to this moment, there was friction in the fact that the things being said to me and about me and the attacks made on my character and the way I flow with life and even going out to watch the sunrise or see the beach was attacked, y'all. So there was a lot of resistance that had built up inside my body, and my body's like, wait, you've been giving me this message, you've been giving this message. So sometimes when things start to open up and look like they're going to go your way, those signals start cutting back on, right? And I had to tell my spirit, I'm like, hey, I know we're experiencing that, but we can just let that go. All that friction and all those necessary survival skills were for a time, and we're past that. So you have to give permission to yourself. It has the key to your life, but it will not bust in. And that's the thing about the healed healer, is it's always there waiting for you. So I'm like, you know, if any friction or resistance or like hackles start popping up on me, you just move right on through them. That was just an old condition coming about from the past, and it's dissolving and moving on out. And I'm ready to embrace this new flow, this new life, this gentleness, this appreciation, this conversation and communion with myself. So I hope that's helped you, friend. Maybe in some quiet speak when you spend time with yourself reflecting on this, about how is this processing through my life, or how would that look like for me, or how do I dialogue and converse with myself. But gentle, 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 flow, flow, flow. And when it arises, take that moment, okay? I look forward to chatting with you. Hey, subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you here. We do tarot, we do oracles, we do chit chats, we do all sorts of stuff, okay? Sometimes it gets a little freaky, but hang in there with me. Your soul knows what I'm talking about. All right, give it that thumbs up. Click us up to the top, my friend. I love you. Bye.